It's America's 250th birthday, and I'm going to shop the furniture America's waited 250 years for at Bob's Discount Furniture. At Bob's, they've got ultra-comfy power reclining sofas with genuine leather seats, stylish dining sets with convenient lift-top storage, best-selling bedrooms with over 700 five-star reviews, and a feature-packed pop-up sleeper sofa with built-in shelving, charging, storage, and those signature Bobopedic seats. So, stop in or shop online at Bob's Discount Furniture, where America shops for furniture.
I'm Hannah. I've lost 75 pounds in 20 months with GLP-1s, plus diet and exercise. On Ro, I've gone from struggling to run a mile to running farther every day. You can access FDA-approved GLP-1s online. Get the support you need to reach your weight loss goals. Go to ro.co/weight to see if you qualify. I'm a paid Ro partner. 20% average weight loss in 1 year in non-diabetics with obesity or overweight with a weight-related medical condition versus 3.1% in placebo arm. RX only. To stay informed about serious side effects, go to ro.co/safety.
Everything you write and everything you make can't be like the perfect representation of your community, you know? So horror, again, is kind of like the loophole in a way where it sort of puts audiences at ease or something.
Awesome. This is great. All right. I am very excited today to be speaking with Houston Bone, the director, and Chloe Van Landschoot, the star of Son of Sarah. Thank you both so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
This film is so much fun. Honestly, Son of Sarah is so much fun. For those who are unaware, Son of Sarah tells the story of Sarah, who is pregnant with her son. It's right there in the title. Who comes from otherworldly origins, but we are not privy to how wild this birth may be. Houston, where did the film come from?
Oh my goodness. Okay, I feel like there's so many. I'm going to be saying the same answer over and over, but I'll say this to keep it brief. It came initially from more of a curiosity about this central relationship, and I guess funneling that relationship through the lens of this sort of monster movie. And I think almost like a prompt, it allowed us to sort of take that and then run with it in a little bit of a different direction and just have a lot of fun with it. And, there's a lot of dark moments in the movie, obviously, but I think we really found a way to toe this line between campiness and also like a sort of severeness or severity, I guess. I'm a huge horror fan. I've always wanted to make my own horror movies. And so this will be the first of hopefully many. This is also us bringing this new little monster into the world. I guess there's a few different reasons why this movie came about.
Well, I love that balance between, like you said, because this film goes places. This is you when we say campy, I see it right behind you. You've got a Scooby-Doo poster, which I respect, fully respect. When people say campy, they can think that Son of Sarah goes places. It goes hard in moments. Well.
Yeah. I think Scooby-Doo was like my entrance into horror, So I think a lot of people who are horror fans, they start off by being fans of something that's like horror adjacent. And the truth is, Scooby-Doo also goes there sometimes. I mean, if you've seen Zombie Island, it's pretty raw and rough in certain moments. And sometimes I'm shocked that I think there was just a different sort of vibe in the air back then when they were making children's movies. They didn't treat them as so silly as they do now. But I think, horror is a way to explore. It's like a loophole to explore all kinds of weird stuff. But if you're going to do a horror, you have to take it there, because horror fans are expecting so much every time they press play.
Well, and especially when you have a film that deals with the supernatural, it's one thing. Like there are certain places where it's great to have the teases, but eventually there has to be the reveal.
Yeah.
And there's great payoff in this one. Chloe, what was going through your mind as you step into to Sarah's role, if you will. This is quite a bloody role in
Hmm.
moments, and you're
Wet.
really given the yeah, and you're
Wet.
given the chance to go for it.
Yeah. How fun. Yeah. I mean, not every day do you get to have a bunch of fluid flying out of you, in every orifice of your body. So yeah, that was a feral fun time. Yeah. And Houston just let us go there. So I think as an actor, that's a ton of fun. I usually played pretty contained people, so it was fun to be very uncontained and abject in every form. So yeah, I mean, I had a fucking blast playing her, truly.
Well, I mean, can you tell us about Sarah a little bit? Because, she's obviously she's torn between this relationship and her child, but what in your mind is her biggest struggle?
Yeah, I think Sarah's someone that is very affected, and things are always happening to her. She's not necessarily doing things in the world. Um, she's absorbing the world around her and then isn't someone who's necessarily action oriented or someone who's forcefully trying to get their way out of a situation. You see her flush the hair down the toilet, the nail down the toilet. Like she's very avoidant in those ways, and she thinks if she just pushes it away, it'll go away. But we all know that's not quite how this film turns out. So I think what this baby is a bit of a metaphor for her too, to like come online to herself, to pay attention to herself, to wake up to herself, to stand up for herself in the most abject and bizarre way possible. But I think she comes out uh, learning some important lessons about autonomy and direction and what it means to fight for something, including her own life and that of her child. And I think once you have a baby, no matter what shape or form it is, you'll do anything you can to protect it and to get information and to understand.
Yeah, yeah. There. It's funny because you're right. She is very much on a journey, and by the end, she's a much stronger character,
Mhm.
or stronger personality, I should say, than
Yeah,
in the beginning.
because she's had to finally fight for something.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I would love to hear from you both. Chloe, you tapped on something here that I've been wondering about this film because in this film, I would love to know what your thoughts are where the greater evil is coming out or going in because this is the birth of a child, but there seems to be a real tension of where the evil stems from in this film.
Oh, that's really interesting. I loved the answer that Chloe just gave. I just want to say that. I think the evil is sort of a little bit everywhere. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
what I was saying to someone, I think maybe in the previous interview or recently, I'm really interested in like, I feel like every character in this film is kind of in some way victimized by their circumstances, um, but everybody reacts to their circumstances differently. So obviously, at first glance, you'd think the evil is probably Troy and his mother and the people who are physically restraining someone, killing people, and they are certainly a little bit evil. But when you start to break it down, they both sort of have sort of reasons that they think of what they're doing, and then the baby ends up sort of outdoing them in a way. So it's like, is the baby now the great evil? But then on the grander scheme of things, it's like, oh, but then Satan is watching over all of it, and he also has some strange connection with Sarah, whether it's just him using her as a vessel or maybe there's something deeper there. So there's sort of like three tiers, and I think that's sort of how it is in most stories of like demons or supernatural like gods, where it's like there's the people in the clouds or underground, I guess, which would be Satan, and then there's the sort of in between, which is baby, and then there's the humans doing all the grunt work. And I think what I think is so cool about the concept, like when I was researching Satan and just like the concept of demons and stuff, and the reason they possess people really is because they can't actually really do anything in the earthly plane, so they have to have like a middleman kind of do their work for them. And so I think that's really kind of a fascinating way to think about evil, because in the human world, like people just pick up a gun and do it, you know. But and when there's a different sort of, when it becomes supernatural, it becomes more complex, and there's people doing stuff that maybe they don't actually want to do because they're being possessed, or there's someone possessing people who want to be possessed, like Agnes wishes she was Sarah, you know. She wishes she was more central in this evil equation. So I guess the answer is a non-answer in the way that it's like there's all different kinds of layers of evil.
And I think it's cyclical. I
Yeah.
think the insides are on the outsides and the outsides are on the
Yeah.
insides, and it's just this viciousness that at oftentimes is inescapable.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have to ask, in your mind, I know where the film ends, but with the son of Sarah, given what you were saying, Houston, is the baby redeemable?
Mm.
To me, he is, because I love him, and I think he's like my baby on some level. Like I think he's redeemable the same way that, you know, Chucky is redeemable, or Jason is redeemable, or any of these monsters are redeemable on some level. There's something that people see in monsters that that fuels something beyond fear. You know, there's something there that makes people curious about monsters, makes people want to have pictures of them, makes people want to collect. You know, it's like there's something sort of magical there. I think that it really comes down to his innocence on some level. It's like, you know, the reason why something like Jason works is because he is sort of a victim at the get-go of some, you know, in some way. And, you know, I think that's what, like, Leatherface, even Freddy Krueger, maybe maybe he's not really as much of a victim, but I think with Baby, it's just going to depend on what he does in Volume 2, and I think what he's going to do is probably a lot of murdering. But you could look at it from an animalistic perspective. If the baby is murdering just because he's hungry, is that evil, or is that just who he is? Or could baby be used by, you know, Sarah or Carol for positive means in some way? You know, he's a weapon in some way. So I don't know. I don't really see baby, I guess, as a person. Like I see him more as an entity or a creature or somebody who sort of lives in between God and man. There's some sort of weird middle ground. And I don't think he would ever be worried, at least at this age, about being redeemed. I think he's very laser focused on what's ahead
Yeah,
of him.
he's busy.
He's busy eating. He's busy
Mhm.
hunting, you know. But I think that what I think is exciting to explore is how Sarah and Carol interpret the baby's evil,
Mhm.
you know, in the future. Like, okay, how far will they go to justify his actions? How far will they adapt to make him safe, you know, to protect him, or try to stop him from being seized by other, you know, nefarious people with nefarious motives? Or I think it opens a bunch of interesting, dramatic, like a can of worms, basically, that we can play in.
Mhm. Yeah, especially when you're a mom too. Like I think whether it's a devil baby or your run-of-the-mill infant baby, I think you would do anything to protect it because it's yours. And I
Yeah.
think Sarah coming into this newfound power of finally having autonomy, and fighting for something, I'm curious how that's going to manifest in the protection of her kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is an interesting dynamic here because Sarah's relationship to this child is that it's her child.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there it is viewed through her eyes. You could see her eyes as she's staring at this infant.
Yeah. And I liked that she wasn't hung up on that it's a little devil baby. Like she's like, no, this is mine. Like there was no rejection because it looks different. And I loved that. She was immediately like, this is mine. Which I think is another kind of allegory for what it means to be queer as well at times in this world, and to be accepted for who you are, no matter what, even if you have little horns.
Well, maybe I was gonna say maybe a ball cap for preschool,
Yeah.
just not to take away from that, but the horns
Yeah.
maybe, but I
He might
wondered
need to be
about that.
homeschooled. He might need to be
Might need to be
homeschooled.
homeschooled.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want him in the lunchroom, maybe, but maybe with the other kids. But I wondered about that aspect too, because there is this queer dynamic to the film, and I wondered about why that was such an important aspect to bring into it, and how that affected the development of this character in the story.
It was super important. Like, I mean, it was one of the founding principles, I guess, of the movie was like, I don't know. I guess every movie, I kind of see it as a sort of an experiment. And I think with this movie, I knew, okay, like I want to make a horror movie and I want it to be queer. Like I want it to be not like subtextually queer. And the crazy thing and sort of the beautiful thing about the queer community is that we are able to project onto stuff that isn't technically queer, but we find ways to interpret it as queer. And so many horror movies that are like iconic queer horror movies aren't actually really queer in the text, but we find the queerness. And so in my mind, I was like, wouldn't it be nice if, I mean, more and more we're seeing more and more queer movies, but I think sometimes they tend to be more, there's a trend of like sort of a seriousness around if a horror movie is dealing with a social problem, it has to be so serious. And so I knew I wanted it to be queer, but I didn't want it to be necessarily about trying to solve a social problem
Mm.
or anything. Like I think it's so fun to see queer people just exist, and there is a couple of moments where Agnes is like, oh, girlfriend, where she's like, but it's not really I feel like it's not because she's like it's a girl, it's more because like, oh, just another person in the way of my dreams.
Mm.
So it could have been a boyfriend and she would have had probably the same reaction. And I think it's fun too to imagine that maybe on some level every character in the film is queer, even the taxi driver. I don't know about Satan, but Satan's kind of queer coded too. But yeah, so I think
Yeah, with that loincloth.
I know, yeah, loincloth, really muscular. I don't know. I think that it was really fun to also like I didn't do the casting saying, oh, we need queer actors or in my mind I was pretty open-minded about like, okay, it can be, but I was secretly hoping obviously that we'd be able to find people that could have some sort of connection to the material. And it was sort of a lucky accident that almost everybody in the cast is queer, or maybe everybody. I don't know. It's up for. I have to check in with the taxi driver, but I feel like it became so natural on set to not have to be like, okay, how do we make it queer? We were just like doing it,
Mhm.
and it kind of just was happening naturally. And I think that's the best way you want to create as someone who's like quote unquote marginalized, because you don't want to feel like the weight of the world on your shoulders when you're making everything you write and everything you make can't be like the perfect representation of your community. So horror again is kind of like a loophole in a way where it sort of puts audiences at ease or something, and allows them to maybe accept stuff that they wouldn't often accept or think about. And so I hope that people watch this and they come away thinking, oh shit, yeah, that they were gay. Whoa. And then that can change it's not necessarily the first thing they're thinking about, but it is very central to it. And having the sexual elements too, be very raw and intimate and I think very tender. I think I really wanted Sarah and Carol to have this really like soft tenderness to their relationship before we got into the craziness. Because that's my experience. Like, obviously, not every queer relationship is soft and tender, but I think there is such a beauty there that is often overlooked, um, in the media that we see. So,
Oh,
hope that answers your question.
absolutely, absolutely. And Chloe, you and I, forgive me, I forget who the actresses apart
Tamika,
Yeah.
Tamika.
Tamika.
Tamika, you have a wonderful connection. I think it really grounds the film in a special way, that lets it launch off, but still has this sort of soul to it that I really appreciate it. It was well done.
Yeah, Tamika's amazing. I mean, she made the job infinitely more easy. I remember in our callback, she just looked at me and she's like, "Can I give you a hug?" And like that, no one ever has done that in a callback session before. And I was like, "Oh my God, I love this girl. I hope Houston casts her." Thank God he did, because yeah,
Yeah.
she was a dream to work with, and yeah, the chemistry was so natural and easy and playful and tender, and yeah, it was just two people reacting to each other who cared a lot about each other, and yeah, it was awesome.
I love that. I love that. Honestly, thank you both so much for your time. Son of
Yeah.
Sarah is just a blast of a ride. And I really appreciate the chance to chat with you about it. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.